They poured wine on a black waitress's head for fun. Then her mafia boss husband walked in. The Chianti was warm when it hit my scalp. I remember that detail more than anything else. The temperature, body warm, like blood. It soaked through my carefully pinned curls, dripped down my temples, stained the crisp white collar of my uniform until the fabric clung to my skin like a second shame. I didn't scream, didn't even flinch at first. Just stood there, tray balanced in my left hand, while Blake Harrington's laughter echoed off the vaulted ceilings of La Meridienne's private dining room. His friends joined in, that particular brand of cruelty that comes easy to men who've never been told no, never faced a consequence that mattered. "God, look at her," one of them wheezed. "Phone already out, already recording. She's just standing there." The wine kept coming. A second pour, deliberate and slow, running down the back of my neck, pooling in the hollow of my collarbone. The bottle must have cost more than my weekly pay. The humiliation was free. "What's wrong, sweetheart?" Blake leaned back in his chair, designer suit unmarked, smile sharp as broken glass. "Cat got your tongue? Or do you not speak English?" I spoke English. I spoke it better than he did, with his boarding school drawl and inherited arrogance. But I also knew the rules. Swallow it down, smile through it, survive the shift. Aurelio had warned me. That world doesn't want you there, Kara. They'll remind you every chance they get. I'd told him I could handle it. That I wanted to work, wanted to feel like myself, not just Mrs. Vitali, the Mafia Don's mysterious wife hidden away in a penthouse fortress. Now, soaked in Chianti with 6 pairs of eyes watching me like I was the evening's entertainment, I tasted copper on my tongue. Not wine, but the blood from where I'd bitten the inside of my cheek to keep from crying. "Please, sir," I heard myself whisper, and hated the shake in my voice. "That's enough." "Enough?" Blake's eyebrow arched. "Baby, we're just getting started. This is what happens when they let." The word never left his mouth, because the air changed. You know that moment before a storm breaks? When the wind dies and the birds go silent and every living thing knows to take cover? That's what happened to the dining room. The pianist's hands stuttered on the keys. The conversations at other tables fell away like dominoes. Even the candles seemed to flicker lower. The double doors at the far end of the room opened. Not violently, not dramatically, just opened. And Aurelio Vitali walked in. He didn't rush, didn't run. He moved through La Meridienne the way he moved through everything, with the inevitability of a guillotine blade falling. 6'3" of tailored menace in a black suit that probably cost more than most people's cars. Dark hair perfectly styled, Roman features carved from something harder than marble. But it was his eyes that made Blake's laughter die in his throat. Those eyes that looked at me every morning with tenderness, that whispered Italian endearments against my skin in the dark. They were empty now. Not angry, not furious, just absent of mercy. He crossed the room in silence. His men materialized from the shadows. Marco, Stefano, 2 others whose names I'd never learned, forming a wall of tailored menace behind him. Aurelio stopped beside my chair, removed his coat with deliberate care, draped it over my shaking shoulders, the silk lining still warm from his body, smelling of bergamot and something darker I'd learned not to name. Then he looked down at me, and for just a heartbeat, I saw my husband again, the man who made me espresso every morning, who slow danced with me in our kitchen at midnight, who kissed the inside of my wrist like I was something holy. "Tesoro," he murmured, "just for me. Are you hurt?" I shook my head, even though we both knew I was lying. His jaw tightened. "Just once." Then he straightened and turned to face Blake Harrington's table with the kind of calm that makes strong men reconsider their religion. "Who?" Aurelio said softly, each word precise as a scalpel. "Thought it was funny to pour Chianti on my wife?" The silence that followed could have shattered glass. Blake tried to laugh. It came out strangled. "Listen, man. We didn't." "My wife," Aurelio repeated, and something in those 2 words made Blake go pale. "You poured wine on her head, recorded it for your amusement, called her." His voice dropped lower, colder. "What? Exactly?" "Finish the sentence you were about to say when I walked in." No one spoke. Aurelio nodded slowly, as if Blake's silence had confirmed something he already knew. I see, he said. Marco? Si, capo. Collect their phones, every device, every recording. His gaze swept the table, cataloging faces like a judge cataloging the damned. And get their names, all of them. Their fathers' names, their mothers' names, where they live, where they work, what they love. Aurelio, I whispered, but he touched my shoulder, gentle, silencing. Then, he continued, voice never rising above conversational, call their families, tell them there's been an incident, tell them their sons are safe. He paused, and the pause was worse than any threat. For now. That's when Blake Harrington realized his mistake. Not the wine, not the laughter, not even the recording. His mistake was thinking the black woman serving his wine was just a waitress. His mistake was not knowing that the man the city whispers about, the one they call Il Lupo, the wolf, kisses her goodnight every evening and would burn Manhattan to ash if she asked him to. His mistake was thinking power lives only in boardrooms and country clubs. And as Aurelio's hand settled protectively on my waist, as his men closed in around the table like shadows gaining teeth, I realized something too. My husband doesn't yell, he doesn't threaten, he just decides. And Blake Harrington's world had just been decided extinct. Marco moves first. He doesn't touch Blake Harrington, doesn't need to, just positions himself beside the table, hands clasped in front of him like he's waiting for communion, and somehow that's more terrifying than any weapon could be. Gentlemen, Marco says, voice soft as confessional velvet. Your phones, please. Blake's friend, the one who'd been filming, clutches his iPhone like it's a lifeline. You can't just... Aurelio doesn't even look at him, just tilts his head a fraction of an inch, and the protest dies unfinished. The phone appears on the table within seconds, followed by 5 others in rapid succession. Marco collects them with the care of someone handling evidence, which, I suppose, he is. Now, Aurelio continues, still standing beside me, his hand resting on my shoulder with that particular weight that says mine in a language older than words. You're going to stand. You're going to walk to the exit. You're going to do it quietly, like the gentleman your fathers paid Harvard to pretend you are. Blake finds his voice, though it comes out strangled. This is assault. This is me being polite. Aurelio's thumb traces small circles on my collarbone, the gesture tender and terrible at once. Would you like to see what impolite looks like? The question hangs in the air like smoke. Blake's face cycles through emotions. Indignation, fear, calculation, before landing on survival. He stands. His friends follow like dominoes. Smart, Aurelio murmurs. Then, louder. Marco will escort you out. I suggest you call your fathers. Tell them you're safe. His smile doesn't reach his eyes. For now, that remains true. They leave in silence. The entire dining room watches them go. 6 men in $1,000 suits shepherded out by Aurelio's crew like children being sent home past curfew. The maitre d' wrings his hands near the bar, clearly calculating whether to apologize or pretend nothing happened. Aurelio makes that decision for him with a glance. The man disappears into his office. Tesoro. Aurelio turns back to me, and his voice drops into that register he saves for darkness and intimacy. Can you walk? I nod, even though my legs feel like water. His coat is still draped over my shoulders, heavy with his scent. Bergamot and cedar and something darker that reminds me of old churches and older sins. He helps me stand. My uniform is ruined, wine-soaked and clinging to my skin. I can feel every eye in the restaurant on us, feel the weight of their judgment, their curiosity, their fear. The black waitress married to Il Lupo. How did that happen? What does he see in her? What does she know? Everything and nothing. That's the truth they'll never understand. Aurelio guides me toward the exit, his hand at the small of my back, possessive and protective. Stefano materializes with my purse, my coat. Someone has already settled my shift's accounts, already smoothed over the chaos, already erased the evidence that I was ever here as anything but Aurelio Vitali's wife. The thought makes my throat tight. The town car is waiting at the curb, black and sleek and anonymous. Marco holds the door. Aurelio helps me inside, sliding in beside me, and the door closes with the kind of solid thunk that says bulletproof. The city slides past the tinted windows as we pull into traffic. Manhattan, at night. All glitter and gold. Blood-red taillights and neon promises. I used to love this view. Used to think the city was beautiful in its restlessness, its refusal to sleep. Now it just looks like a battlefield. Please, I whisper, my voice raw. Please don't. Aurelio doesn't pretend not to understand. His hand finds mine in the darkness between us, fingers threading through mine with familiar ease. They already did, Kara. You can't. I stop. Because what can I say? You can't destroy their lives? He can. He will. You can't make this bigger than it needs to be? For him, this is exactly as big as it needs to be. Kayla. He says my name like a prayer and a warning. Look at me. I turn my head, meet his eyes in the passing streetlight. They're dark, not just brown, but something deeper, something that swallows light rather than reflects it. The eyes of a man who makes impossible things happen, who turns whispers into weapons. What they did tonight, he says carefully, was not about wine. It was about reminding you that you don't belong in their world. That no matter how well you speak, how hard you work, how much dignity you carry, you're still just entertainment to them. Still disposable. My jaw tightens because he's right and I hate that he's right. I won't let that stand, he continues, softer now. I can't. This is my fight, Aurelio. No. His grip on my hand tightens fractionally. It stopped being just yours the moment you married me. You think I don't know what they see when they look at us. A black woman who married up, a white man with a fetish, a criminal playing house with his pretty trophy. Don't. The word comes out sharp. Don't reduce what we are to their ignorance. He goes quiet for a long moment. The car turns onto our street, pulls up to our building where the doorman already has the entrance open, already knows not to ask questions. I love you, Aurelio says finally. And there's something raw in it. I love you in ways that terrify me. And when they hurt you, when they humiliate you, when they pour wine on your head and laugh like you're nothing. He stops, jaw working. I become something I've spent years trying to control. Something you should never have to witness. Then don't do it, I plead. For me, just let it go. He helps me out of the car, up the elevator to our penthouse. Doesn't answer until we're inside, until the door is closed and locked and the city is reduced to glittering silence beyond our windows. I can't, he says simply. They made sure of that. The shower runs hot enough to scald. I stand under the spray until my skin turns pink, scrubbing at my hair with shaking hands. The wine swirls down the drain like diluted blood. My uniform lies in a sodden heap on the marble floor. White cotton ruined beyond saving, just like my dignity, apparently. I scrub harder, nails raking across my scalp until it burns. The hotel-grade shampoo. Aurelio insists on luxury even in practical things. Foams between my fingers, but I can still smell it. Still feel the warm splash of humiliation, the weight of their laughter. She's just standing there. This is what happens when you hire trash. The words loop in my head like a skip in a record. I knew there would be moments like this. Knew that choosing to work, to maintain some semblance of independence despite being married to one of the most powerful men in New York, would invite scrutiny and scorn. But knowing it intellectually and experiencing it viscerally are oceans apart. Through the frosted glass, I see a shadow. Aurelio, leaning against the bathroom doorway, watching. Not in the predatory way men watch women in showers. There's nothing sexual about this moment. He's watching the way you watch something precious and breakable, something you're terrified of losing. I turn off the water. He's there immediately with a towel, wrapping it around me with hands that have signed death warrants and caressed my skin with equal precision. Do you want me to fix it? His voice is careful, controlled. I meet his reflection in the mirror. He's still in his suit, though he's loosened his tie, rolled his sleeves to the elbow. There's something achingly domestic about the image. This dangerous man reduced to worried husband. No, I say, even though it's a lie. I want to forget it. He nods, but his eyes tell a different story. They always do. Aurelio's eyes are where his truth lives, in the way they darken when he's calculating odds, the way they soften when they find me across a room, the way they go absolutely empty when he's decided someone's fate. Right now, they're planning. Come to bed, he murmurs, pressing a kiss to my damp shoulder. Per favor, tesoro. Let me hold you. I let him lead me to our bedroom. Let him help me into one of his shirts, the silk ones he wears under suits, soft and expensive. Let him pull me into bed, into the circle of his arms, into the illusion of safety. But I can't sleep. Just lie there, listening to his heartbeat steady against my ear, feeling his fingers trace absent patterns on my spine. Tell me about the first time someone made you feel small. I whisper into the darkness. He goes still. Why? Because I need to know you understand, that this isn't just about you protecting your possession. The word lands like a slap. Aurelio pulls back enough to look at me, and there's hurt in his expression, real and unguarded. Is that what you think you are to me? A possession? I think, I say slowly, that sometimes you forget I existed before you, that I survived things before I had your name and your protection. He's quiet for a long time. Then, I was 12. My father took me to his social club for the first time. All these men, these important men, and one of them patted my head and said, "Little Vittore's boy, eh? Let's hope he's smarter than his old man. God rest his soul." I wait, knowing there's more. My father was dead 3 months. They knew that. They just didn't care. To them, I was just the latest Vitali boy, another link in a chain of violence and blood. They'd already decided what I would become before I had a chance to decide for myself. His hand finds my face in the darkness, thumb tracing my cheekbone. So yes, Kara, I understand what it means to be seen as less than human, to be judged before you open your mouth, to have your worth determined by things you cannot control. Then you know, I say quietly, that revenge doesn't fix it. It just confirms what they already think about us. About you, you mean. About both of us. You think they see you as civilized? You're the dangerous immigrant, the Italian thug playing dress-up in Armani, and I'm the black woman who seduced you for your money. That's their narrative. Nothing you do tonight will change it. He doesn't argue because he knows I'm right. But when I wake the next morning, Aurelio is already gone. His side of the bed is cold. There's an espresso waiting for me on the nightstand, still warm, beside a note in his precise handwriting. Had to handle something. Back for dinner. Ti amo sempre. I pick up my phone. 63 notifications. Text messages. Missed calls. News alerts. The top one makes my blood freeze. Blake Harrington, heir to Harrington Capital, reported missing. The news plays on every channel. Blake Harrington's face. Patrician features. Confident smile. The look of someone who's never doubted his place in the world. Stares out from my phone screen. From the television, from the tablet I keep in the kitchen for recipes I never make. Missing. Manhattan heir vanishes after exclusive club incident. Harrington family offers $500,000 reward for information. Sources say disappearance linked to alleged altercation at La Meridienne. I stand in our kitchen, watching the city wake up 20 floors below, and feel something cold settle in my chest. The espresso Aurelio made me has gone bitter on my tongue. I know. Of course I know. My husband has made Blake Harrington disappear. The apartment is too quiet. No Aurelio humming off-key Italian opera in the shower. No sound of him on calls in his study, switching seamlessly between English and Italian, and occasionally rapid-fire Sicilian, when he's truly angry. Just silence, and the muted sounds of Manhattan filtered through bulletproof glass. My phone buzzes. Maria from La Meridienne. Girl, tell me you're okay. The news is saying crazy things. Call me. Then another from my mother in Brooklyn. Kayla Michelle Jones, you better call me right now. What is happening? Is that man keeping you safe? That man. She's never called Aurelio by his name. Not when I told her I was dating him. Not when I announced our engagement. Not even at our small wedding where she sat in the front row wearing black like she was mourning rather than celebrating. I'd been angry then. Told her she was being dramatic, prejudiced, small-minded. Now, staring at Blake's face on the news, I wonder if she saw something I didn't, or refused to see. The elevator chimes. Only 3 people have the code to our private entrance: Aurelio, Marco, and Stefano. Since Aurelio would have used his key, it's one of his men. Marco appears in the doorway to the kitchen, impeccable in a gray suit, his expression neutral. "Mrs. Vitale, the capo asked me to check on you. Did he also ask you to make sure I don't talk to the police?" Something flickers in Marco's eyes. Not quite surprise, but close. "The police haven't requested to speak with you. Yet. They won't." He says it with the certainty of someone who knows exactly how many officers are on Aurelio's unofficial payroll. Last night's incident has been handled. The restaurant security footage from that section has been misplaced. The staff have been reminded of their confidentiality agreements. There's no evidence you were involved in anything. Except I was involved. They poured wine on my head in front of a room full of witnesses. Witnesses who saw a regrettable accident. A drunken mishap. Nothing more. Marco's voice is perfectly even, perfectly professional. This is a man who has disposed of bodies and balanced books with equal efficiency. "Mrs. Vitale, may I speak freely? Have I ever stopped you? The capo loves you in a way that..." He pauses, choosing words carefully. "In our world, love is a weakness. It's a vulnerability that enemies exploit, a pressure point that gets you killed. Aurelio has built an empire on control, on never allowing emotion to compromise strategy. But with you..." He stops again. "You make him reckless." Is that an accusation? It's an observation, and a request. Marco steps closer, and for the first time since I've known him, there's something like concern in his expression. He will burn cities for you. He will start wars. He will destroy families, topple empires, leave carnage in his wake if he believes it will protect you or avenge you. Not because he's cruel, but because he loves you more than he fears consequences. What are you asking me, Marco? I'm asking you to decide if you can live with that. Because once this starts, there's no walking it back. Blake Harrington is just the beginning. Before I can respond, my phone rings. Unknown number. I consider letting it go to voicemail, but something makes me answer. "Mrs. Vitale?" The voice is older, refined, with the particular accent that comes from generational wealth. "This is Richard Harrington, Blake's father. I believe we need to speak." The restaurant Richard Harrington chooses is old money incarnate. Dark wood paneling, leather booths, waiters who've worked there for decades. The kind of place where deals are made over rare scotch and medium-rare steaks, where power changes hands without paperwork. I arrive alone, despite Marco's protests. This conversation needs to happen without Aurelio's shadow looming over it. Richard Harrington looks like an aged version of his son. Same sharp features, same entitled bearing, but weathered by decades and disappointment. He stands when I approach, old-school manners at war with obvious disdain. "Mrs. Vitale, thank you for meeting me." He doesn't offer his hand. Neither do I. We sit. A waiter materializes, takes our drink orders, vanishes. The silence stretches like wire. "My son is missing," Richard says finally. "You were the last person he interacted with before he vanished. Your son poured wine on my head and called me slurs while his friends filmed it for entertainment." I keep my voice level. Let's be clear about the nature of that interaction. A muscle twitches in Richard's jaw. Blake has always been impulsive, privileged. I'm aware he's made mistakes. Mistakes? The word comes out sharp. Your son didn't make a mistake. He made a choice. He chose to humiliate me because he could, because he thought there would be no consequences, because men like him never face them. And now he's missing. You'll forgive me for seeing a connection. I didn't make your son disappear, Mr. Harrington. I was the one drenched in Chianti, remember? I'm the victim here. Victim. He says it like the word tastes wrong. You're married to Aurelio Vitale, a man the FBI has been investigating for years, a man linked to organized crime, political corruption, and at least 17 unsolved disappearances. You expect me to believe you're a victim? The waitress returns with drinks. I wait until she's gone before responding. I expect you to ask yourself why your son thought it was acceptable to treat service workers like animals, why he was raised to believe his wealth and status gave him the right to humiliate people without consequence, What kind of father produces a son who films himself committing assault for entertainment? Richard's face goes red. How dare you? How dare I? I lean forward. Your son attacked me. Not physically, but make no mistake. What he did was violence. And now you're here, threatening me, because the natural consequences of his actions have finally arrived. The natural consequence of rudeness is not disappearance. Maybe not in your world, but you came into mine when your son chose to humiliate me in front of Manhattan's elite. When he made sure everyone knew exactly what he thought of black women in service. When he reminded me that no matter how far I've come, I'm still just entertainment to people like him. Richard is quiet for a long moment. Then, I could destroy you. One phone call and every paper in this city leads with your face, your history, your marriage to a criminal. I could make you a national headline. Go ahead. I stand, suddenly exhausted by this conversation, by this man, by everything. But ask yourself something first. If you had the power to destroy me with a phone call, why am I sitting here unharmed while your son is missing? Maybe the answer is that your power has limits, and maybe, Mr. Harrington, you've just discovered them. I leave him sitting there, walk out into Manhattan afternoon sunshine that feels too bright, too normal for the darkness I'm carrying. My phone buzzes before I've walked a block. Text from Aurelio. Where are you? Another immediately after. Marco says you met with Richard Harrington. Without telling me. Without protection. Tesoro, what were you thinking? I text back. I was thinking I needed to look the father in the eye and see if he understood what his son did to me. He doesn't. 3 dots appear, disappear, appear again. Finally, come home. We need to talk. But when I round the corner to our building, I stop dead. News vans. At least 5 of them, cameras and reporters clustered around the entrance. Our doorman looks overwhelmed, trying to keep them on the sidewalk while they shout questions. Mrs. Vitale, did you know Blake Harrington before the incident? Is it true your husband has mob connections? How does it feel to be at the center of a missing person investigation? I turn around, walk in the opposite direction, text Aurelio. Can't come home. Media circus outside. His response is immediate. Don't move. I'm sending a car. The black SUV appears within minutes. Stefano at the wheel. He pulls up to the curb, window sliding down just enough for me to hear him. Get in. Now. I do. We drive in silence to one of Aurelio's safe houses. An apartment in Tribeca I've only been to once before. All clean lines and expensive emptiness. A place for disappearing when needed. Apparently, we need it now. Aurelio is waiting inside, still in the suit he left in this morning, though his tie is gone and his sleeves are rolled up. He looks like he hasn't slept, sharp features drawn tight with tension. Before you start, I say, I needed to meet him. I needed to see. If he understood? Aurelio nods. I know. Marco told me what you said. That love makes me reckless. His smile is bitter. He's not wrong. Where is Blake Harrington? Alive. Unharmed. Very, very frightened. Aurelio. Do you want to know what happened after we left the restaurant? He doesn't wait for an answer. I called every favor I'm owed. Every politician, every banker, every lawyer who's ever benefited from my investments. Within 2 hours, Blake Harrington's trust fund was frozen, pending an IRS investigation. His father's company lost 3 major contracts under suspicious circumstances. The footage from La Meridienne, the real footage, not the sanitized version, was delivered to every major media outlet with Blake's face clearly visible, along with his full name and employment history. I sit down slowly on the minimalist couch. You're destroying him. I'm teaching him that actions have consequences. Something his father clearly failed to do. And where is he? Where's Blake? Aurelio pours himself a scotch from the bar, doesn't offer me one. In a very comfortable hotel room under guard. Fed, watered, allowed to watch his world crumble on television. Scared, but unharmed. For now, he agrees. His father needs to understand something first. Needs to feel what it's like to be helpless. To watch someone you love suffer and be unable to stop it. Then, maybe, he'll teach his son some actual manners. This is insane. You've kidnapped someone. I've detained someone who committed assault on camera. Aurelio finally looks at me, and his eyes are cold. Do you know what happened while you were meeting with Richard Harrington? The video dropped. The real video, full footage. Blake and his friends laughing, filming, calling you. His voice cracks slightly. Calling you things I won't repeat. It's been viewed 8 million times in 4 hours. Number Justice for Kayla is trending worldwide. He pulls out his phone, shows me. And there it is. My humiliation in high definition, spread across every platform. Me, standing there, wine dripping down my face, while entitled men laugh and film and comment. And the responses. This is absolutely disgusting. Arrest them all. Who is this woman? Someone find her and let her know the whole internet has her back. The casual racism is so normalized they didn't even think to hide their faces. Unbelievable. Wait, she's married to WHO? Oh, those boys are done. I didn't want this, I whisper. I didn't want to be a trending topic. I didn't want the world to see me like that. Aurelio kneels in front of me, takes my hands. I know, but they need to see what men like Blake Harrington do when they think no one's watching. They need to see that Black women, women in service, women who work, they matter. That humiliating you has consequences. But this isn't justice, Aurelio, this is revenge. Isn't it the same thing? No, I pull my hands away. Justice would be Blake and his friends facing legal consequences, losing their jobs, being held accountable by the system. This is you playing God, deciding their fate, using your power to what? To protect my wife? To make sure every entitled piece of shit in this city knows that Black women aren't their entertainment? That you specifically are untouchable? I don't want to be untouchable. I want to be human. I want to live in a world where I don't need a mafia husband to protect me from basic fucking dignity violations. The words hang between us, sharp and true. Aurelio stands slowly, jaw working. You think I don't know that? You think I don't hate that the only way to keep you safe is to be the monster they already think I am? Then stop. Let Blake go. Let this end. I can't. Why not? Because it's already started. He gestures to the silent television, where news is still breaking, where my face keeps appearing alongside Blake's, alongside speculation and outrage. The video is out. The investigation has begun. I can release Blake, but I can't unring this bell. The city knows now. They know what happened. They know who you are, who I am, what we are together. A target, I say quietly. That's what we are now. He doesn't deny it. My phone buzzes. Text from an unknown number, just a link to a tabloid article. Black waitress or mob wife, the woman at the center of the Harrington scandal. I don't open it, don't need to. I can imagine exactly what it says. This is why I told you not to work, Aurelio says, softer now. Not because I want to control you, because I knew this world would try to hurt you the moment it had the chance. And I knew that if it did, I would have to respond, that I wouldn't be able to stop myself from burning it down. What if I don't want you to burn anything down? What if I just want you to hold me and let the world be cruel and survive it anyway? Then you married the wrong man. He says it without anger, just sad resignation. Because I'm not built to watch you suffer and do nothing. That's not who I am. I know he's right. Knew it when I said yes to his proposal. Knew it every time I watched him handle business with cold precision. Knew it in the moments when his tenderness made me forget exactly what kind of man I'd fallen in love with. But knowing it and living it are different things. Blake Harrington will be released within 48 hours, Aurelio says, shifting into business mode. By then, his family will have signed agreements, contracts, insurance policies that ensure he and his friends never work in Manhattan again, never hold positions of power, never have the opportunity to humiliate another woman the way they humiliated you. And if they refuse, they won't. He says it with absolute certainty. Because Richard Harrington may be powerful, but I own the banks that hold his debt, the politicians who approve his contracts, the lawyers who protect his interests. He'll sign because he has no other choice. You're not a vigilante, Aurelio. You're not Batman cleaning up Gotham. You're just a man with power who's decided to use it for revenge. I'm a man who loves his wife. He closes the distance between us, cups my face in his hands. And I will not apologize for making the world understand that hurting you carries a cost. Even if you hate me for it, I don't hate you. The words come out broken. I'm terrified of you, of what you're becoming, of what I've turned you into. You didn't turn me into anything, Tesoro. I've always been this. You just made me have something worth protecting. He kisses my forehead, and it feels like goodbye. 3 days later, Blake Harrington is found. Not hurt, not dead, but fundamentally changed. He gives a press conference. Pale, shaking, reading from a prepared statement that his lawyers clearly wrote, apologizing for his reprehensible behavior and announcing his immediate resignation from Harrington Capital. His father stands beside him, stone-faced, saying nothing. Within a week, all 6 men from that table have issued public apologies, video messages, op-eds, carefully crafted statements about privilege and accountability and learning from mistakes. None of them mention me by name. None of them work in finance anymore. The internet declares it a victory. Number justice for Kayla evolves into number workers' dignity, into conversations about harassment in high-end service industries, into think pieces about race and class and power. I'm supposed to feel vindicated. Instead, I feel like I'm drowning. Our penthouse has become a fortress. Security has tripled. I can't leave without armed escort. Can't go back to La Meridienne because the restaurant closed its doors indefinitely after the scandal. Can't be normal anymore because everyone knows my face, knows my story, knows I'm married to the man who made 6 wealthy families bend their knees. Aurelio moves through it all like a shark through water. Smooth, predatory, unstoppable. He's in meetings constantly now, managing the fallout, ensuring his empire remains intact while the world watches. We barely speak. I spend hours on our balcony, staring at Manhattan and wondering when I became a prisoner in paradise. You should eat something. Maria appears with a tray. She's been staying with us since the media siege began, the only friend who didn't retreat when things got complicated. You've barely touched food in days. I'm not hungry. You're miserable. She sits beside me, sets the tray aside. Talk to me, Kayla. Really talk. Where do I even start? How do I explain that I'm grateful and resentful, protected and trapped, loved and objectified all at once? He destroyed them, I say finally. Not just Blake. All of them. Their careers, their reputations, their futures. And he did it for me. Isn't that what you wanted? I wanted justice. I wanted consequences. I didn't want... I gesture helplessly at the city below. This. Whatever this is. I'm not a cause, Maria. I'm not a movement. I'm just a woman who got wine poured on her head by drunk assholes. You're Aurelio Vitali's wife. That makes you more than just a woman to him. It makes you sacred. That's the problem. I look at her. When someone makes you sacred, they stop seeing you as human. I'm a symbol now. A reason, a justification for everything he was already planning to do. Maria is quiet for a moment. You think he used you? I think the Harringtons were already his enemies. I think that dinner was already coming. I was just the excuse that made it look righteous. Does that make what Blake did okay? Of course not. But it means my humiliation became currency in a war I didn't start and don't understand. And now I'm trapped here, unable to work, unable to be myself. While the whole world debates whether I'm a victim or a mob wife or both. So what are you going to do? It's the question I've been avoiding for days. What am I going to do? Stay here and let Aurelio's protection suffocate me? Leave and risk proving every tabloid right, that I was just a gold digger who couldn't handle the heat? I'm going to talk to him. I stand, sudden certainty replacing the paralysis. Really talk. Not fight, not argue. Just lay it all out. Maria nods. He's in his study. Been there all morning. I find Aurelio exactly where she said. Behind his massive desk, surrounded by monitors and paperwork, looking every inch the criminal mastermind he allegedly is. He glances up when I enter, something softening in his expression. Tesoro, I was just going to come find you. I need you to stop. The words come out flat, final. All of it. The vengeance, the punishment, the public crusade. I need it to end. He goes very still. We've discussed this. No. You've dismissed my concerns and continued doing exactly what you want. I'm not discussing, Aurelio. I'm telling you, if you love me the way you claim, if I matter to you as anything more than a possession to protect, then you'll stop. Now. The wheels are already in motion. Then stop them. You have the power to start wars. You have the power to end them. And what happens when the next Blake Harrington comes along? When the next entitled piece of shit decides you're fair game? Then I'll handle it myself. The way I did before I met you. The way millions of women handle disrespect and discrimination every single day. With dignity and resilience, and by not giving men like that the satisfaction of a response. You think that's enough? His voice rises now, frustration bleeding through. You think dignity protects you? Resilience keeps you safe? I've watched powerful men destroy good women for sport, Kayla. I've seen what happens when you turn the other cheek. It doesn't make you noble. It makes you a target. So your solution is to make me a different kind of target? To put crosshairs on my back and dare the world to shoot? My solution is to make sure no one dares. He stands, coming around the desk. You want to know the truth? The Harringtons were my enemies long before they touched you. Richard Harrington has been trying to legitimize dirty money through my banks for years. His son's hedge fund is built on insider trading and schemes that hurt actual working people. I was already planning to move against them. But I was doing it quietly, strategically, over months. And then Blake gave you the perfect excuse. He gave me justification. Aurelio's jaw tightens. There's a difference. Every move I've made against them is legal. Every consequence they're facing is through legitimate channels. Regulators, auditors, shareholders who finally see what they've been hiding. I didn't manufacture their crimes, Kayla. I just stopped protecting them from exposure. You're playing word games. I'm explaining that the Harringtons deserve to fall regardless of what Blake did to you. What happened that night just accelerated the timeline and gave the world a reason to care. I sink into one of his leather chairs, suddenly exhausted. So, I was a tool. A convenient catalyst for something you were already planning. No. He kneels in front of me, and there's genuine pain in his expression. You were violated. Humiliated in front of Manhattan's elite because Blake Harrington thought your dignity was negotiable. That's real, Tesoro. That happened. And my response, making sure he and everyone like him understands the cost of that violation. That's about you. About making certain no one ever treats you that way again. But it's also about you, I say quietly. About showing the city what happens when someone crosses Aurelio Vitale. About maintaining your reputation, your power, your control. He doesn't deny it. Can't. Because we both know it's true. Everything I do serves multiple purposes, he admits. That's how you survive in my world. But loving you, protecting you, that's not strategic. That's the one thing in my life that's pure. Then prove it. I lean forward, meet his eyes. Stop the war against the Harringtons. Release whatever remaining pressure you're applying. Let them rebuild their lives under the consequences that are already in place and move on. And if I do, if I show that kind of mercy, every enemy I have will see weakness, will think they can target you without fear of real repercussions. Or they'll see a man who's powerful enough to choose restraint, who doesn't need to destroy families to make a point. I take his hands. You've already won, Aurelio. Blake is finished. His friends are disgraced. The video sparked national conversations about workplace dignity. You've done what you set out to do. Now let it end before innocent people. Secretaries who lose jobs, security guards who get laid off, families who depend on Harrington contracts, pay for Blake's sins. Something shifts in his expression. You're worried about collateral damage. I'm worried about becoming the kind of person who doesn't care about it, who justifies suffering because it serves a greater purpose. I squeeze his hands. Don't make me complicit in that, please. For a long moment, he just looks at me. Then he stands, walks to the window, stares out at his city. There's a dinner tomorrow night, he says finally. Richard Harrington has requested a meeting. On neutral ground, mediated by a federal prosecutor who owes me considerably more than he owes the Harringtons. What kind of meeting? The kind where terms are discussed, where agreements are reached that protect everyone's interests while allowing for strategic repositioning. He glances back at me. I was planning to use that dinner to finalize their complete destruction, to make Richard sign over controlling interest in Harrington Capital, essentially handing me his empire. My stomach tightens. And now? Now I'm reconsidering. He turns fully. If I go to that dinner and offer different terms, ones that allow the Harringtons to survive in diminished capacity, that protect workers and assets while still holding Blake and his friends accountable, will that be enough for you? It's not really a question, it's a negotiation. My compliance, my peace, my continued presence in his life, traded for his restraint. What do you want in return? I ask, because there's always a price with Aurelio. Come with me, to the dinner. Let Richard Harrington see you beside me, whole and strong and untouchable. Let him understand that you're not just my wife, you're my equal, that any agreement he makes is with both of us. You want to use me as a symbol again. I want to show the world what you mean to me. That's different. He crosses back to me, pulls me to my feet. You asked me to prove, my love isn't just about possession. Let me prove it. Come to this dinner, stand beside me while I choose mercy over destruction, and then decide. If you still want to leave after that, I won't stop you. The offer hangs between us like a blade. You mean that? If I want to leave, you'll let me go? I'll let you go, he confirms, though it clearly costs him. Because keeping you prisoner in paradise isn't love. It's exactly the kind of ownership you accused me of. And I need to know. After everything, after seeing who I really am and what I'm capable of, whether you still choose this. Choose me. I should say no. Should recognize this for what it is. Manipulation wrapped in vulnerability. A test disguised as compromise. Should understand that going to that dinner makes me complicit in whatever happens there. That standing beside him legitimizes his power in ways I'm not comfortable with. But I also see the truth in his eyes. The fear that I'll leave. The desperate hope that I'll stay. The man beneath the monster, reaching for something he's not sure he deserves. I'll go, I say finally. But Aurelio, if this dinner is just another power play, if you use my presence there to humiliate the Harringtons or force more concessions than necessary, we're done. I won't be your weapon. You were never a weapon, cara mia. He pulls me close, presses his forehead to mine. You're my conscience. The only thing standing between me and becoming the monster everyone thinks I already am. Then listen to your conscience, I whisper. Show them mercy. Show me you can. He kisses me then. Desperate and tender and tasting like promises he might not be able to keep. The restaurant Richard Harrington chooses for dinner is older than money itself. Dark paneling, oil paintings of dead industrialists, the kind of place where women weren't allowed until the 1,980 seconds, and still aren't particularly welcome. I dress carefully. A black sheath dress, simple jewelry, my natural curls styled elegantly, not trying to impress, just trying to exist with dignity in a space designed to make people like me uncomfortable. Aurelio wears navy, not black. A subtle choice, slightly softer. His hand rests at the small of my back as we're led to a private dining room where Richard Harrington waits with his lawyers and a stern-looking woman who must be the federal prosecutor. Richard stands when we enter. His eyes flicker over me, assessing, judging, cataloging everything he can use against us later. Mr. Vitale, Mrs. Vitale. He nods curtly. Thank you for meeting me. Mr. Harrington. Aurelio's voice is perfectly cordial, perfectly cold. Shall we begin? We sit. Menus are presented and ignored. No one's here for the food. The prosecutor, her name is Melanie Collins, lays out ground rules. Everything discussed is off the record, but legally binding through separate agreements. No recordings, no witnesses beyond this room. Then Richard begins. My son made a terrible mistake, he says, looking at me directly for the first time. What he did to you was inexcusable. I've raised him to be better than that, and I failed. For that, I apologize. It sounds rehearsed, probably is, but there's something genuine in his eyes. Not remorse for my suffering, but fear for his son's future. Your apology is noted, I say evenly. But I'm not the one you need to convince of your sincerity. Richard's jaw tightens. He turns to Aurelio. What do you want? You've already destroyed Blake's career, tanked our stock price, triggered federal investigations that will take years to resolve. What more can you possibly take? Nothing. Aurelio's answer surprises everyone in the room, including me. I want nothing more from you, Richard. The investigations will proceed based on their own merits. Your stock price will recover or it won't, depending on how well you run your company. Blake will rebuild his life without the safety net of your name and money, learning humility through necessity rather than lecture. Richard stares. You're letting us go? I'm choosing not to destroy you completely. Aurelio leans back, his hand finding mine under the table. My wife has reminded me that vengeance and justice aren't the same thing, that there's a difference between consequences and cruelty. So here are my terms. You will donate $5 million to a foundation for workplace dignity that Mrs. Vitale will oversee. You will personally fund the legal defense of any service worker who files complaints against abuse in establishments you frequent. You will use your platform to advocate for respect and accountability in high-end service industries. You want me to become a reformer? Richard's voice drips disbelief. I want you to do something useful with your remaining power. Aurelio's tone hardens slightly. Because the alternative, the one where I take everything from you and leave you in ruins, is still very much on the table. This mercy has an expiration date. Melanie Collins slides papers across the table. The agreements are drafted, standard terms, reviewed by independent counsel. Sign, and this matter is resolved. Refuse, and Mr. Vitale is free to pursue any legal remedies he chooses. Richard picks up the papers, reads them slowly. His lawyers whisper in his ear. I watch him calculate. Pride versus survival, ego versus reality. Finally, he signs. For what it's worth, he says, meeting my eyes again. I am sorry, not because your husband forced this, but because my son did something unforgivable, and I raised him to think he could. It's not enough. Nothing could be enough, but it's something. Then teach him better. I say quietly. Teach all the young men in your world that women aren't entertainment, that service workers are human, that dignity isn't negotiable regardless of income or race. I'll try. He stands, extends his hand to Aurelio. They shake, brief, professional, sealing an arrangement neither of them particularly likes but both can live with. When the Harringtons leave, I feel something unknot in my chest. Not relief exactly, but the absence of dread. The sense that maybe, possibly, this nightmare has an ending that doesn't require more blood. Melanie Collins gathers her papers. Mrs. Vitale, you should know. This foundation he negotiated for you. The funding is substantial. You could do real good with it. Or I could walk away and let it disappear. I point out. You could. She agrees. But I don't think you will. I think you're the kind of woman who turns pain into purpose. She nods to Aurelio. You're lucky she chose you. I know, he says simply. When we're alone, Aurelio turns to me. I kept my word. Mercy instead of destruction. Consequences instead of carnage. Was it enough? It was a start. I stand, smooth my dress. But we still need to talk about what happens next. About whether I can live in your world without losing myself in it. Then let's go home and have that conversation. He helps me with my coat, the gesture automatic and intimate. Whatever you decide, Tesoro, I'll respect it, even if it destroys me. We walk out together into Manhattan night. The city glittering and indifferent, full of people who'll never know how close they came to war. The penthouse is quiet when we return. Maria has gone home. Security is stationed discreetly in the hallway. It's just us and the weight of everything unsaid. I pour myself wine, deliberately choosing a Chianti, reclaiming it, and stand at the window. Aurelio watches me from across the room, giving me space to collect my thoughts. The Harrington situation was already in motion before Blake touched me. I say finally, you admitted as much. So tell me the truth, Aurelio, all of it. What were you really planning? What did my humiliation give you permission to do? He's quiet for a long moment. Then, Richard Harrington has been laundering money for a Russian oligarch named Volkov. Not directly, through subsidiary companies, offshore accounts, The kind of structure designed to look legitimate under casual inspection. I've known about it for 6 months. And you were going to expose him. I was going to take over the operation. His voice is flat, clinical. Redirect the money flow through my channels, cut Volkov out, use the leverage to neutralize a significant threat to my interests. It was elegant, profitable, strategic, illegal, extremely. He meets my eyes. But effective. Volkov has been trying to expand into New York for years. Harrington Capital was his foothold. Taking it would have secured my territory and eliminated a dangerous rival in one move. My hand tightens around the wine glass. So, when Blake poured wine on me, when you walked into that restaurant and saw me humiliated, I saw an opportunity, he admits, and the honesty cuts deeper than any lie could. I saw a way to move against the Harringtons that looked like justice rather than aggression. That would make me sympathetic, make them villains, make everything I did to them seem righteous. You used me. The words taste like ash. I used the situation. The crime against you was real, Kayla. Your pain was real. My fury was real. But yes, I accelerated plans that were already in motion and wrapped them in the language of protection. I turn away from him, staring at the city lights blurred by unshed tears. How much of our relationship is real, Aurelio? How much is strategy? Everything about us is real. His voice cracks slightly. Meeting you, falling for you, marrying you. That was never strategy. You're the one thing in my life that isn't calculated. But keeping me is strategic. Marrying me gave you access to spaces you couldn't reach before. Fundraisers, charity galas, legitimate society events where a black wife makes you look progressive, makes you seem safe. Stop. He crosses to me in 3 strides, turns me to face him. You think I married you for access? For appearance? I married you because you're the first person who ever looked at me and saw something worth saving. Because you make me want to be better than what I am. Because loving you is the only good thing I've ever done. Then why does it feel like I'm just another piece on your chessboard? Because sometimes... He stops. Struggles with something. Because sometimes the truth is complicated. Yes. Being married to you opens doors. Yes, you make me look more human, more acceptable. But those are consequences of loving you, not reasons for it. The fact that something serves multiple purposes doesn't make the primary purpose less true. That's the problem, Aurelio. With you, I can never tell where the truth ends and the strategy begins. Did you really show mercy to Richard Harrington tonight? Or did you calculate that mercy would serve you better than destruction? Both. The word lands like a confession. I showed mercy because you asked me to, because I love you enough to try to be the man you need. But I also showed mercy because I realized that controlling Richard Harrington is more useful than destroying him, that having him indebted and compliant gives me leverage I wouldn't have if I'd crushed him completely. I pull away from him, need distance to process this. So even your goodness is calculated. Welcome to my world. His laugh is bitter. Everything is calculated, Kara. Every kindness, every cruelty, every choice. That's how you survive when everyone wants what you have. When showing weakness for even a moment can get you killed. I don't want to live like that. Constantly calculating, constantly strategizing, never sure if any emotion is genuine or just another move. Then what do you want? He spreads his hands. Tell me. What would you have me be? A legitimate businessman? I can try, but every fortune I have is built on things you'd rather not know about. A better man? I'm trying, but the fundamental nature of who I am doesn't change because you wish it would. Someone ordinary? Then you should have married someone ordinary, not a man whose world operates on power and fear. I want honesty. My voice rises. I want to know that when you say you love me, it's not because loving me serves some purpose. I want to believe that your protection comes from devotion, not ownership. I stop, because what I want is impossible. I want a version of you that doesn't exist. The silence that follows is devastating. You're right, Aurelio says finally, quietly. You want me to separate the man from the monster, to somehow be powerful enough to protect you but gentle enough to never frighten you. To make strategic decisions but have them all come from pure motives. To exist in my world but remain untainted by it. He pours himself scotch, drinks it in one swallow. That man doesn't exist, Kayla. Maybe he never did. Maybe you fell in love with a fantasy and I was too selfish to correct you. Don't. The word comes out broken. Don't make this about me living in fantasy. You're the one who pursued me, who promised me safety and partnership and love, who made me believe we could have something real despite everything. We do have something real. It's just not the fairy tale you were hoping for. I never wanted a fairy tale. The accusation bursts out of me. I wanted an honest partnership with a man who sees me as an equal, not a possession or a tool or a symbol. But you can't give me that because everything in your world is transactional, even love. That's not fair, isn't it? You admitted tonight that showing mercy served multiple purposes, that being married to me opens doors, that even your goodness is strategic. How is any of that love, Aurelio? Real, unconditional love? He's quiet for a long time, staring into his empty glass like it holds answers. When he finally speaks, his voice is raw. My father once told me that love is the most dangerous weapon in our world, that the moment you love something more than power, you've created a vulnerability that will destroy you. I watched him ignore that advice, watched him love my mother so completely that when cancer took her, he couldn't function, couldn't lead. Within 6 months, rivals moved against him. Within a year, he was dead, not from violence, but from giving up. From deciding that a world without her wasn't worth navigating. I've never heard this story. Aurelio never talks about his parents. I promised myself I wouldn't make that mistake, he continues. That I would never love anything more than my own survival. That I would be strategic about everything, including emotions. And then I met you. He finally looks at me, and there are tears in his eyes. You, Kayla, you destroyed every defense I built. Made me feel things I'd trained myself not to feel. And yes, I tried to control it. Tried to make loving you serve my interests. Tried to integrate you into my world in ways that protected both of us. But the truth, the terrifying, vulnerable truth, is that I love you more than my empire. More than my safety. More than my life. Then show me. I cross to him, take his hands. Not with grand gestures or strategic mercy. Show me by being honest, by letting me see the real you, not the version you think I need, by trusting that I'm strong enough to love the monster along with the man. You don't want to see the monster, Tesoro. I already have. I've seen what you did to the Harringtons, seen the fear you inspire, the power you wield, the ruthlessness you're capable of. And I'm still here, Aurelio, still trying to find a way to make this work. He pulls me close, buries his face in my hair. What if there is no way? What if who I am and what you need are incompatible? It's the question I've been avoiding since that night at La Meridienne. The fundamental incompatibility between the life I wanted and the life I chose. I don't know, I admit, but I need time to figure it out. Time away from this apartment, away from your protection, away from being Aurelio Vitali's wife. Time to remember who Kayla Jones is without all of that. He pulls back, searches my face. You're leaving. I'm taking space. There's a difference. How much space? I don't know yet. Maybe a few weeks. Maybe longer. I reach up, touch his face. I'm not abandoning you, Aurelio. I'm trying to save us. Trying to figure out if there's a version of this relationship that doesn't require me to compromise everything I am. And if you decide there isn't, then we'll deal with that when it comes. But I need you to let me go without punishment. Without using your power to track me or protect me or manipulate the situation. Can you do that? For a long moment, I think he'll refuse, that the man who controls everything won't be able to surrender control over this. Over me. Then he nods, once. Where will you go? My mother's, Brooklyn. Somewhere you can reach me if you need to, but somewhere that's mine. Your mother hates me. She's afraid of you. There's a difference. I step back, needing to move while I still have courage. I'm going to pack some things. I'll leave tomorrow morning. Kayla. Don't. I hold up a hand. Don't make this harder with promises or pleas. Just let me go. Trust that if we're meant to survive this, we will. He doesn't argue. Doesn't try to change my mind. Just watches as I walk to our bedroom, as I pull a suitcase from the closet, as I begin the process of temporarily extracting myself from his life. And that restraint, That willingness to let me leave even though it's killing him is the most genuine act of love he's shown me yet. I wake before dawn, Aurelio still sleeping beside me, or pretending to sleep. It's hard to tell with him sometimes. I shower, dress in jeans and a sweater. Clothes from before, from the version of me who didn't live in designer labels. Pack the last of my things. When I emerge, Aurelio is sitting on the edge of the bed, already dressed. I called you a car. Marco will drive you wherever you need to go, then disappear. No surveillance, no tracking. You have my word. Thank you. Kayla. He stands, crosses to me. Before you go, I need you to understand something. What happened with the Harringtons? Using your pain as an excuse to move against them. That was wrong. I see that now. And I'm sorry. Sorry you did it? Or sorry I found out? Both, he admits. But more the first than the second. You deserved better from me. Deserved to be protected without being used, and I failed you. I fell back on the only tools I know. Strategy, and power, and control. Instead of simply being your husband. It's the most vulnerable I've ever seen him. The most human. I forgive you, I say softly. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. Doesn't mean I'm ready to come back yet. I know. He kisses my forehead, gentle and final. Take all the time you need. I'll be here when you're ready. If you're ready. Marco appears with my suitcase. We walk to the elevator together, Aurelio and I, like we're heading to brunch instead of separation. At the door, he pulls me into one last embrace. I love you, tesoro mio. Whatever you decide, that remains true. I love you too, I whisper against his chest. That's why this is so hard. The elevator doors open. I step inside. As they close, the last thing I see is Aurelio Vitali. Powerful, feared, untouchable, looking absolutely shattered. Brooklyn isn't far from Manhattan, just across the bridge. But it feels like entering a different country. My mother opens the door before Marco even pulls away, folding me into her arms like I'm 12 again and coming home from school. Baby girl, she murmurs. I knew you'd come home eventually, that man and his world. Not now. Mama, I interrupt gently. Please, not now. She nods, understands, brings me inside to the small apartment I grew up in, the one that smells like cocoa butter and Sunday dinners, where pictures of me at every age line the walls like proof of identity. This is who I was before Aurelio Vitali. Now I need to figure out who I can be after. Brooklyn at night smells different than Manhattan. Less exhaust, more humanity. Corner bodegas instead of artisanal cafes. The sound of someone's abuela yelling from a third-floor window. Music spilling from open doors. Life happening without apology or pretense. I've been here 3 weeks. Long enough for my mother to stop asking when I'm going back. Long enough for the media circus to move on to fresher scandals. Long enough to almost convince myself I can breathe without Aurelio's protection. Almost. The foundation is real. $5 million, legally transferred, sitting in accounts waiting for me to decide what to do with it. Richard Harrington's people call weekly, asking about initiatives, programs, public statements. I've ignored them all. I'm sitting on my mother's fire escape with cheap wine and expensive thoughts when I feel him before I see him. That particular shift in the air that announces predators. Aurelio stands at the bottom of the metal stairs, hands in his pockets, looking up at me like I'm something holy he's not allowed to touch. He's dressed down by his standards. Dark jeans, black shirt, leather jacket. But he still looks like Manhattan distilled into human form. Your mother let me up, he says quietly. After threatening to shoot me if I made you cry. Despite everything, I almost smile. She doesn't own a gun. I know, I checked. He climbs the stairs slowly, giving me time to object. When I don't, he sits beside me, careful not to crowd. You look good. Rested. I sleep better without bodyguards outside my door. I notice you didn't say without me. I take a sip of wine instead of answering. Below us, Brooklyn lives its life. Kids playing despite the hour. Couples arguing in Spanish and Arabic and Creole. The sound of someone practicing saxophone badly. All of it messy and real and nothing like the pristine silence of his penthouse. Why are you here, Aurelio? Because I miss you. The honesty in it catches me off guard. Because I've spent 3 weeks trying to be the man you need me to be, and I don't know if I'm succeeding. Because I wanted to tell you in person that I'm trying. Trying what? To build something legitimate. Not just money laundering dressed in corporate structure, but actual businesses that don't require blood to maintain. He pulls out his phone, shows me documents. I've been divesting from anything connected to Volkov, redirecting assets into real estate development, tech investments, venture capital, things I can defend in daylight. I scroll through the files, seeing months of work compressed into spreadsheets and legal filings. This must be costing you everything. He takes the phone back, pockets it. Power, respect, fear. The families that answered to me are questioning whether I've gone soft, whether marriage made me weak. I'm fighting challenges from people who used to be allies, losing territory I spent years securing. Then why do it? Because you asked me to show you I could change, that loving you wasn't just about possession. He turns to face me fully, and in the streetlight filtering up, I see exhaustion etched into his features. I'm trying to become someone you can love without compromise, someone who protects you without using you, someone who... His voice cracks slightly. Someone who deserves you. The vulnerability breaks something in me. I reach out, touch his face, feel the tension in his jaw. You're really doing this, dismantling your empire. Not dismantling, transforming. There's a difference. He leans into my touch like a man starving for contact. But yes, I'm tearing down anything that would make you look at me with the fear I saw the night you left. Anything that would turn you into something you're not. What if it's not enough? What if I can't live in any version of your world? Then I'll walk away from all of it. He says it simply, like it's already decided. The businesses, the power, the name that opens doors and ends lives. I'll walk away and follow you to whatever ordinary life you want. Because the past 3 weeks without you have taught me something I should have known from the beginning. What's that? That power without you is just loneliness dressed in expensive suits. That control means nothing if I can't share quiet mornings with you. That everything I built becomes meaningless the moment you're not there to see it. He takes my hand, threads his fingers through mine. I love you more than my empire, Kayla. More than my reputation. More than the man I've spent my life becoming. And if that makes me weak in their eyes, then I'll learn to live with weakness. I should be careful. Should remember all the reasons I left, all the ways loving him complicates everything. But sitting here with him in the Brooklyn night, watching him offer up his entire identity like a sacrifice, I feel something shift. Show me, I whisper. Show you what? That you mean it. That this isn't another strategy. I set down my wine, turned to face him fully. Show me the man underneath the monster. The one who's terrified and vulnerable and trying so hard to change. He searches my face, understanding dawning. Kayla, I'm not asking for promises or grand gestures. I'm asking for honesty. For you to let me see you without armor, without calculation. Can you do that? For a long moment, he just looks at me. Then he stands, offers his hand. Come with me. Where? Somewhere I've never taken anyone. Somewhere that's just mine, not part of the empire or the image. Somewhere I go when I need to remember who I was before power corrupted everything. I shouldn't go. Should maintain the boundaries I set, the space I claimed. But his hand is steady and his eyes are desperate, and I'm so tired of fighting what I feel. I take his hand. The car is unmarked, no driver. Just Aurelio behind the wheel, driving through Brooklyn like he knows these streets. We cross into Queens, wind through neighborhoods until we reach a small Catholic church that looks like it's been standing since before the neighborhood gentrified. This was my mother's church, he says quietly, parking across the street. She brought me here every Sunday until she got too sick to leave bed. After she died, I'd come here and sit in the back, trying to pray to a God I wasn't sure existed. We enter through a side door he has a key for. Inside, candles flicker near statues of saints, and the smell of incense hangs heavy. It's empty at this hour, just us and centuries of faith. Aurelio lights a candle, kneels before the altar. I stand back, watching him pray in Italian, watching this powerful man reduce himself to supplicant. "I don't know if you can hear me," he says to the empty church, to God or his mother or the universe. "But I'm trying to be better, trying to earn what I don't deserve, trying to." He stops, and when he continues, his voice breaks. "I'm trying not to destroy the only good thing that's ever chosen me." I move to him, kneel beside him. "I'm still here. For how long?" He turns to me, and there are tears on his face. Real tears, not the calculated emotion of a practiced manipulator. "How long before you realize I'm too damaged, too corrupted, too fundamentally broken, to be what you need? What if I don't need you to be perfect?" I take his face in my hands, force him to see me clearly. "What if I just need you to be honest, to let me decide what I can live with instead of deciding for me? You deserve someone better. I deserve someone real. And right now, kneeling in your mother's church, crying over your fear of losing me. This is real, Aurelio. This is you." He kisses me then, desperate and seeking, tasting like salt and confession. I kiss him back, pouring 3 weeks of separation into it, 3 weeks of missing him despite everything, of loving him even when I didn't want to. We shouldn't do this here, in sacred space, but somehow it feels right. Two broken people seeking absolution in each other, finding grace in vulnerability instead of violence. "Promise me something," I whisper against his mouth. "Anything. No more blood for me, no more using my pain as justification for war. If you want to change, really change, then promise me that loving me makes you gentler, not more dangerous." He pulls back, searches my face. "That's not a promise I'm sure I can keep. If someone tries to hurt you again, then we handle it together. Legally, publicly, without resorting to the tools that made you feared." I grip his shirt, hold him close. "I need to know that choosing you doesn't make the world darker, that our love can exist without leaving bodies in its wake." "Only ink," he says finally. "I promise. No more blood, only ink. Contracts, lawsuits, consequences that happen in courtrooms instead of shadows. Can you live with that? With fighting battles you're not guaranteed to win?" "I can learn to." He stands, helps me up, and we're back to being two people instead of saint and sinner. "If it means keeping you." We leave the church hand in hand, and in the car, he doesn't start the engine right away, just sits there, processing. "Come home," he says quietly. "Not to the penthouse. I bought a brownstone in Brooklyn, near your mother. Somewhere that's ours, not mine. Somewhere we can build something new." "You bought a house?" 3 weeks ago. Been furnishing it, making it ready, hoping you'd come back and see that I'm serious about changing our life." I should be angry, he assumed, should resent the presumption. But instead, I see it for what it is. A man building a future he's terrified he won't get to live. "Show me." The brownstone is beautiful in ways the penthouse never was. Warm instead of pristine. Lived in instead of curated. There's a kitchen that looks functional, a living room with books on shelves, a backyard garden someone's actually tended. "The guest room can be your office," he says, showing me through. "For foundation work, or whatever you want to do. No guards stationed outside, no security cameras watching your every move. Just space that's yours. Upstairs, the bedroom faces east. Morning light will fill it, I realize. No more waking in artificial darkness behind blackout curtains. I'll still have protection," he admits. "But at a distance. Enough to respond if needed, not enough to suffocate. And I'll teach you. Self-defense, how to spot threats, how to move through the world safely without needing me." I turn to him, seeing the hope and fear warring in his expression. "You really want this? An ordinary life. I want a life where I come home to you without blood on my hands. Where Sunday mornings mean coffee and conversation, not meetings with criminals. Where the worst thing I do all day is burn dinner." He crosses to me, takes my hands. "I want to earn you, Kayla, every single day." The confession settles between us, heavy with possibility. "I can't promise it'll work," I say carefully. "That I'll stay forever, or that we'll survive what you're leaving behind. Your enemies won't forget who you were. I know, but I'd rather die trying to be better than live safely as a monster. He kisses my knuckles, old world gesture from a man learning new world values. Stay tonight. Let me prove I can sleep beside you without the world burning down around us. I should think about it longer, should maintain boundaries and caution. But I'm tired of being afraid, tired of running from the one person who sees me completely. Okay. His relief is palpable. Okay? Show me you mean it, Aurelio. Show me every day that choosing me over power wasn't a sacrifice, it was freedom. We fall into bed not with the desperation of earlier, but with something gentler, relearning each other's rhythms, remembering how perfectly we fit when we stop fighting it. Afterward, in the quiet dark, he traces patterns on my spine. Tell me about the foundation, what you're planning. Legal aid for service workers, resources for fighting harassment, a hotline staffed by people who understand what it means to be disposable in someone else's world. My voice is soft with exhaustion and possibility. I want to build something that protects women like me before they need a mafia husband to avenge them. He goes still. Is that what you think I did? Avenged you? I think you punished people who hurt me. There's a difference between that and preventing harm in the first place. Teach me that difference, he murmurs. Show me how to protect without controlling, how to love without consuming. I'll be your student if you'll be my teacher. It's the most vulnerable he's ever been. More than tears in churches, more than grand gestures. This admission that he doesn't have all the answers, that he needs me to guide him toward goodness. I can do that, I whisper. If you promise to be patient with yourself. Change doesn't happen overnight. Then we'll take our time. He pulls me closer, and I feel his heartbeat steady against my back. However long it takes to build something worthy of you. I fall asleep in Brooklyn, in a house that smells like new beginnings, with a man who's trying to become someone he's not sure exists. It's not a happy ending. Not yet. But it's a start. The headline breaks at 6 a.m., destroying our tentative peace. Vitale Empire under federal investigation. RICO charges imminent. I wake to Aurelio already dressed, phone pressed to his ear, speaking rapid Italian. His face is carved from stone, but I see the tension in his shoulders, the way his jaw works. When he notices I'm awake, he ends the call. Sits on the edge of the bed, and I see decades of careful planning crumbling behind his eyes. How bad? I ask. Blake Harrington filed a federal complaint. Claims I orchestrated his kidnapping, blackmailed his family, used criminal enterprises to destroy legitimate businesses. He hands me his phone, and I scroll through article after article, each one more damaging than the last. He's positioned himself as a victim of organized crime, complete with testimony from people I thought were loyal. He's lying. Not about everything. I did detain him, did use leverage to force his father's compliance, did operate outside legal channels in ways that look very much like organized crime when presented to federal prosecutors. He stands, paces. I've been so focused on going legitimate that I left myself vulnerable. My transition from old methods to new ones created gaps, documentation that could be interpreted as money laundering, meetings that look like criminal conspiracy. My stomach drops. What does this mean? It means I'm facing potential indictment. RICO charges carry decades in prison, asset forfeiture, everything I've built, legitimate or not, being seized and investigated. He stops pacing, looks at me with something like regret. It means every promise I made you about changing, about building a better life. It might be too late. I get out of bed, cross to him. What do you need? Lawyers. Very expensive lawyers who specialize in making federal cases disappear. His smile is bitter. Money won't be the issue. Credibility will. Every move I've made toward legitimacy now looks like exactly what it is. A criminal trying to clean his image. Then we fight it publicly. The foundation, the work we're planning. We show them you're changing. Kayla, if I go down, they'll come after you too. Question your involvement, your knowledge, whether you benefited from illegal activities. They'll paint you as complicit, a willing participant in criminal enterprise. The words hit like physical blows. I think of my mother, of Maria, of every person who'll read my name beside his in federal indictments. Think of my foundation tainted before it begins, every good intention corrupted by association. Maybe I should. I stop. Can't finish the sentence. Leave? He says it for me. Put distance between us so they can't use you against me? That's what my lawyers will advise. That's what would be smart. Is that what you want? I want you safe. He crosses to me, takes my face in his hands with devastating gentleness. I want you untouchable, unreachable, protected from the consequences of loving me, even if it means letting you go. Before I can respond, his phone rings. He answers, and I watch his expression shift from frustration to cold fury. When? A pause. Is she hurt? Another pause, longer. Get her to Brooklyn General. I'm on my way. He ends the call, already moving. Maria was attacked, leaving your foundation's temporary office. 3 men, no weapons, but they sent a message. My blood turns to ice. What kind of message? The kind that uses your best friend to warn you about standing beside me. He's pulling on his jacket, checking a weapon I hadn't noticed under his shirt. They're Volkov's people, making it clear that if I won't do business with them, they'll hurt anyone close to me. This is my fault. I encouraged you to go legitimate, to walk away from them. This is not your fault. The words come out sharp, but his eyes are gentle when they find mine. This is what happens when you try to leave this world. They don't let you go peacefully. They make examples, send warnings, remind you that some exits cost blood. We drive to the hospital in silence, heavy with implications. Maria is in emergency receiving treatment for a concussion and fractured wrist. She's shaken but conscious, and when she sees me, she starts crying. They knew who I was, she says through tears. Knew I work for your foundation, knew you and I were friends, they said. She stops, looks at Aurelio with fear I've never seen her direct at anyone. They said to tell him that protection has a price, and if he won't pay it, everyone he loves will. Aurelio's face goes empty. That particular absence of emotion that precedes violence. Did they give names? Just a message. Maria's voice shakes. They said Volkov sends his regards and looks forward to renegotiating their partnership. I see it happen in real time. Aurelio calculating odds, planning retaliation, sliding back into the man I'd hoped he could leave behind. His hand flexes like it's seeking a weapon. His jaw sets with lethal intention. No. My voice cuts through his planning. You promised me. Only ink, remember? They attacked your best friend outside your foundation. They've made this personal. It's always been personal. That's how they operate, through fear and violence and making examples. I step between him and whatever darkness he's contemplating. But if you retaliate, you prove Blake right. You prove every federal prosecutor right. You become exactly what they're accusing you of being. Then what would you have me do? Let them terrorize everyone you love until you're too afraid to be seen with me? I'd have you call your very expensive lawyers and report this attack to federal authorities. Document everything. Create a paper trail showing you're the victim here, not the aggressor. I grip his arm, feel the tension thrumming through him. Turn their intimidation into evidence. Use the system you're trying to join instead of the one you're trying to leave. His struggle is visible, every instinct screaming for blood, for the brutal efficiency that's kept him alive this long. But he made me a promise in a church 3 days ago, and I can see him fighting to keep it. Marco, he says into his phone, get every surveillance camera feed from the foundation office, traffic cams, business security, everything, and call David off. I need federal protection for Maria Santos and Kayla's mother. Now. He's doing it. Fighting the fight I asked him to fight, with weapons he barely knows how to wield. The police arrive, take Maria's statement. Then federal agents, asking questions that sound more like interrogations. They're investigating Aurelio, I realize, using this attack as an excuse to question everyone connected to him. When they turn to me, Aurelio's lawyer arrives, a sharp woman in an expensive suit who shuts down the questioning within minutes. My client's wife is also a victim here. Unless you're charging her with something, this conversation is over. Outside the hospital, Aurelio leans against his car, looking more exhausted than I've ever seen him. This is what you meant, I say quietly. When you said leaving your world costs blood, they're making examples, showing everyone what happens when you try to walk away with your dignity intact. He runs a hand through his hair, disrupting its usual perfection. I've made enemies by going legitimate. The families that profited from my old methods, the politicians I used to protect, the criminal enterprises that depended on my infrastructure. They're all circling now, sensing weakness. Are we safe? Really safe? Safer than we would be if I retaliated. But no, not truly safe. Not until Volkov understands that I'm willing to burn everything down before I go back to working with him. You mean? I'm cooperating with federal investigators, turning over every piece of evidence I have on Volkov's operation, on the money laundering through Harrington Capital, on the corruption network I used to be part of. He looks at me, and there's something like liberation in his expression. I'm testifying, Kayla, becoming a federal witness, ending my empire by exposing everyone else's. The weight of what he's saying settles over me. They'll kill you for that, probably, but they'll try to kill me anyway. At least this way. I take them down with me. He takes my hands, pulls me close. I promised you no more blood for you. This is how I keep that promise. By making sure the people who'd hurt you to get to me can't hurt anyone anymore. And if you die doing it, then I die having tried to be the man you needed. He kisses my forehead, gentle and final. Better that than living as the monster I was. We drive back to Brooklyn in silence, both understanding that everything just changed. That his choice to go legitimate, to keep his promise, has painted targets on everyone he loves. When we reach the brownstone, I stop him before we go inside. Thank you, I say. For what? For keeping your promise even when it would have been easier to break it. For choosing the harder path because it was the right one. I touch his face, memorizing features that might not be mine much longer. For trying. He pulls me into his arms, holds me like I'm the last solid thing in a dissolving world. Don't thank me yet. We don't know if it'll work. But we go inside together, and that's something. Two people trying to build goodness from the ruins of an empire, knowing the cost and choosing each other anyway. The media discovers Aurelio's cooperation within 48 hours. Headlines explode. Mob boss turned federal witness. Vitale testimony could dismantle organized crime networks. The wolf becomes a canary. Aurelio Vitale sings. Our brownstone becomes a fortress despite his promises. Federal marshals stationed outside. Surveillance systems upgraded. Every movement tracked and logged. My mother is relocated to a safe house. Maria refuses protection but accepts bodyguards. I'm a prisoner again. But this time the bars are meant to keep danger out instead of keeping me in. Aurelio spends 18 hours a day with lawyers and federal prosecutors, building cases against people whose names I'm not allowed to know. He comes home exhausted, haunted, but somehow lighter. Like confession is draining poison from his system. They're offering witness protection, he tells me one night, collapsing into bed beside me. New identities, relocation, complete severance from our old lives. Do you want that? I want you safe. If that means becoming Thomas Miller from Cincinnati who works in insurance, then yes. I almost laugh at the image. Aurelio Vitale, selling insurance, wearing khakis, living in suburban anonymity. Would you be happy? I'd be alive and with you. That's a kind of happiness I've never known. He turns to look at me, and in the darkness, I see vulnerability raw as open wounds. But I'm asking you to give up everything. Your name, your city, your identity, to follow me into exile because I couldn't escape my past cleanly. It's not following if we're going together. Kayla, I'm serious. I shift to face him fully. I don't need to be Kayla Jones of New York. I just need to be whoever I am with you. If that's Sarah Miller of Cincinnati, then we'll learn to be the Millers. You'd really do that? Walk away from the foundation, from Maria, from your mother? I'd do it to survive. To build something new where old ghosts can't reach us. I take his hand, thread our fingers together. But first, you have to survive giving testimony. Have to make it through trials without the people you're exposing finding ways to silence you. He doesn't deny the danger. Can't. Because we both know what happens to informants. Even protected ones. The first threat comes 3 days later. A package delivered to the brownstone, intercepted by federal agents. Inside. Photos of me at the foundation's office. At my mother's apartment. Leaving Maria's building. each one marked with red X's. The message is clear. We can reach her anytime. Aurelio goes cold when the agents show us. That particular shutdown, I've learned, means he's calculating violence. Breathe, I tell him. Remember your promise. They're threatening to kill you. They're trying to scare you into silence. Don't let them. I grip his hands, force him to see me instead of targets. The moment you retaliate, you prove you're still what they say you are. The moment you stay quiet and let the system work, you win. The system doesn't always work. Then we make it work. We use every legal tool, every protection, every advantage your cooperation has earned us. I soften my voice. You chose this path, Aurelio. The hard one, the right one. Don't abandon it now because they're doing exactly what we expected. He struggles. I can see it. The instinct to protect through violence warring with his promise to protect through law. Finally, he nods, calls his attorneys, reports the threat through proper channels. Hours later, 3 arrests. Minor players in Volkov's organization, caught on camera delivering the package. It's not the mastermind, but it's something. Proof that the system can work if you use it correctly. See? I tell him that night. Justice, instead of revenge. Justice is slower, he mutters, and far less satisfying, but it doesn't cost our souls. The trials begin in early summer. Aurelio testifies against 15 defendants across 3 federal cases: money laundering, racketeering, conspiracy. I watch from the gallery as he dismantles empires with words, explaining schemes and structures with clinical precision. He's brilliant, and completely exposed. The defense attorneys try to destroy him, paint him as a vengeful criminal inventing charges, a liar seeking immunity for his own crimes. But Aurelio's testimony is corroborated by documents, recordings, witnesses who've also cooperated. The jury believes him. The convictions start rolling in. Major players sentenced to decades, organizations dismantled, the kind of justice that usually only exists in movies. And with each conviction, Aurelio seems to shrink slightly. Not in stature, but in the weight he's carried. Like he's exorcising demons one testimony at a time. Do you regret it? I ask him after the final trial concludes. Choosing this over the empire you built? Every day, he admits, and not at all. He pulls me close, and we stand at the brownstones window, watching Brooklyn live its evening life. I regret that it took so long to realize power isn't the same as purpose, that controlling everything meant controlling nothing that mattered. What matters now? This. You. The possibility that we survive long enough to become boring. He kisses my temple. The Millers are waiting for us, Tesoro. Ready to be ordinary? With you? Never. I turn in his arms, see the man who chose conscience over empire, who kept promises that cost him everything. But I'm ready to try. 3 days later, we disappear. Federal marshals escort us to a private airstrip where we become other people. Names and histories carefully constructed, lives waiting to be lived. I don't look back as Manhattan fades below us. Don't mourn the woman I was or the city that shaped her. I just hold Aurelio's hand and fly toward whatever ordinary, extraordinary life we can build from the ashes of his empire. Blake Harrington drops his federal complaint 2 weeks after we vanish, admits to fabricating portions of his testimony, accepts a plea deal for perjury. The charges against Aurelio are dismissed posthumously. Or rather, against the man Aurelio used to be. Thomas Miller doesn't read about it. Thomas Miller works in risk assessment, drinks coffee that isn't artisanal, comes home to his wife Sarah and their quiet life in Columbus, not Cincinnati. The marshals changed it last minute. But sometimes, late at night, Sarah sees Thomas staring out windows like he's looking for ghosts, and Thomas catches Sarah watching the news for mentions of foundations she'll never run. They're happy. Mostly. In that complicated way, people who've survived impossible things are happy, grateful and haunted, peaceful and vigilant, ordinary and anything but. And when Thomas takes Sarah's hand across their simple dinner table, when he says, "I love you" in a voice that used to command empires, she believes him, because love that survives everything they survived isn't strategy. It's just love. Finally, impossibly, just love. Columbus dies at dusk. Not literally, The city keeps breathing. Traffic keeps flowing. But something in Thomas Miller dies as he watches the evening news. His face, Aurelio Vitale's face, splashed across every channel with a new headline: Federal Witness Vitale located. Safety concerns raised. Someone leaked our location. Someone with access to witness protection databases. Someone motivated enough to expose us despite the federal consequences. Sarah, Kayla, she'll always be Kayla to me, goes pale beside me on our second-hand couch. How? Corruption runs deeper than testimony can reach. I'm already moving, pulling go bags from the closet we prepared for exactly this scenario. We have maybe 6 hours before someone acts on this information, maybe less. The marshals are already compromised if our location leaked. I hand her a bag, meet her eyes. We run, now. Or we stay, and I finish what I should have finished months ago. She knows what I mean. Sees the old Aurelio surfacing through Thomas Miller's careful disguise. You promised. I promised no blood for you. But if staying in witness protection means you die when they inevitably find us again, then my promise means nothing. I cup her face, memorize features I might not get to see much longer. Let me protect you the only way I know how. By going back to being him? By unraveling everything we've built? By making sure no one ever threatens you again? By ending this instead of running forever? Tears track down her face, but her voice stays steady. If you go back, they'll arrest you. All those plea deals, all that cooperation, it's void the moment you commit new crimes. Then I'll go to prison having kept you alive. That's a trade I'll make every time. The marshals arrive before we can finish arguing. 2 agents I've never seen, faces grim with the knowledge that their system failed. They hustle us into an armored vehicle, explain protocols we've heard before, promise safety we both know is temporary. In the back of that vehicle, racing toward another safe house in another forgettable city, I make my decision. The ledgers still exist, not the ones I turned over to prosecutors. Those were carefully selected, showing just enough to convict others while protecting certain operations. But the real records, the ones that detail everything, every transaction, every name, every secret that keeps my old world spinning, those are hidden in 3 locations only I can access. Insurance, I'd called it. Protection against the day someone tried to kill me despite my cooperation. Now they're ammunition. I need to make a call, I tell the marshals. No contact with. I'm calling my attorney. That's protected. I keep my voice level, but they hear the edge underneath. The reminder that I'm cooperating voluntarily, that I can stop any time. Unless you'd prefer I reconsider my testimony? They exchange glances, then hand me a secured phone. Davidoff answers on the first ring. I saw the news. Where are you? Doesn't matter. I need you to retrieve something for me. 3 safe deposit boxes, locations I'm about to send you. Inside are documents that will destroy everyone who's ever worked in my world. Silence. Then, Aurelio, if you release those, you're signing your own death warrant. Everything you've built toward witness protection, toward starting over, is meaningless if she's dead. I glance at Kayla, see her watching me with understanding and heartbreak. Get those documents. Deliver them to every federal prosecutor, every news outlet, every investigative journalist who's ever wanted to expose organized crime. I'm burning it all down. They'll kill you for this. They're going to try anyway. At least this way, I take them with me. I pause, let the weight settle. And Davidoff? Make sure the Vitale Foundation is protected, that Kayla's assets are completely separated from anything connected to me. She walks away clean, no matter what happens to me. Aurelio. I end the call. Hand the phone back to the marshal who's listening with barely concealed shock. Kayla's voice is small in the darkness. You're really doing this. I'm keeping my promise. No blood for you. Just ink. Every secret, every crime, every piece of leverage I've ever held, exposed through legal channels. They can't threaten you if they're too busy defending themselves in federal court. And you? What happens to you? I'll likely go to prison. The plea deals were contingent on my continued cooperation and clean record. Burning the ledgers probably violates a dozen terms. I take her hand, hold it tight. But you'll be free. Truly free. Not just hiding under a false name. No one will come after you because coming after you gains them nothing. I'll have already destroyed everything worth protecting. She's crying now, silent tears that destroy me more than any threat could. I didn't ask for this sacrifice. I know. But I'm making it anyway. Because the alternative. Watching you live in fear. Running forever. Always looking over your shoulder. That's not life. That's just slower death. The safe house is worse than the last one. Generic furniture, reinforced windows, the smell of fear baked into walls. We're given new names, new histories, but we both know they're temporary, that as soon as the ledgers surface, as soon as federal prosecutors start making arrests based on my final testimony, we'll be exposed again, this time permanently. I spend 72 hours on secured phones with lawyers, prosecutors, journalists, walking them through the ledgers, explaining structures and schemes, naming names I'd protected before. The arrests start immediately. Dozens of them, spanning 3 states, touching families I'd once called allies. Each arrest is a nail in my coffin. Each conviction is freedom for Kayla. You're destroying your own history, she says, watching me work. Every connection, every favor, every piece of power you built. I'm destroying the machine that made me. There's a difference. I don't look up from documents that detail crimes spanning decades. If I'd done this from the beginning, maybe we wouldn't be here. Maybe you could have married someone ordinary. I didn't want ordinary. I wanted you. She crosses to where I'm working, takes my face in her hands. The real you, not the careful performance. And right now, burning your empire to keep me safe. This is the realest you've ever been. I kiss her then, tasting salt and sacrifice. When they arrest me, don't. When they arrest me, I continue, promise you'll keep building the foundation, that you'll turn what happened to you into something that protects others, that our story, all the pain and mistakes, becomes something meaningful. I promise. But Aurelio, they might not arrest you. The information you're providing, it's valuable enough that they might. They'll arrest me. I'm certain of this. Because I'm making too many powerful people look incompetent. Exposing corruption they should have caught. I'm not a hero in this story. I'm a liability they'll neutralize as soon as I'm no longer useful. 3 days later, I'm proven right. Federal agents arrive at dawn. Not marshals this time. FBI, with arrest warrants and cameras documenting everything. The charges are technical. Violating terms of witness protection, unauthorized contact with former associates, obstruction of justice. The reality is simpler. I know too much and made too many enemies in too many places. They cuff me in front of Kayla. She doesn't cry, doesn't protest, just stands there watching the man she loves being taken, shoulders straight and eyes dry. The world took your dignity once. I tell her as they read my rights, I won't let it take it again. Everything I did, every name I gave them, it was for you. Remember that. She nods once, strong, composed, exactly who I need her to be. As they lead me out, I see her hand drift to her stomach in a gesture I recognize. Something she's been doing for days without realizing. I stop, turn back. Kyla? She meets my eyes, and I see the truth there. The secret she hasn't told me yet. Keep our child safe, I say quietly. That's all I ask. Her composure finally breaks. Aurelio, keep them safe. Build something beautiful. Live. They take me then, and I don't look back. Can't, because looking back means seeing everything I'm losing, and I need to stay focused on everything I'm protecting. The prison transport feels like absolution. Like every bad choice, every violent act, every sin I've committed is finally catching up. But if my damnation means Kayla's salvation, then I'll walk into hell grateful, because she's not just the woman I love. She's carrying our future, and that future deserves a world without my ghosts. 16 months later, the ballroom at La Meridienne looks different. Same vaulted ceilings, same chandeliers, but the energy has shifted. Where wealthy men once dined on privilege and wine, now survivors gather for something harder to define. Dignity, justice, change. I stand at the back of the ballroom, watching Kayla command the stage. She's 8 months postpartum, having given birth to our daughter Lucia in protective custody, while I sat in federal prison, learning humility. She's powerful in ways that have nothing to do with marriage or protection. This is earned power, built from pain and purpose. The Vitale Foundation's inaugural gala. Fundraiser and statement, celebration and warning. Every major donor in New York is here, along with journalists, politicians, and the same service workers who once served them invisibly. Tonight, everyone sees. 16 months ago, Kayla says into the microphone, voice steady and clear. I was humiliated in this very room. Wine was poured on my head by men who thought dignity was negotiable, who thought people like me, black women, service workers, anyone they deemed beneath them, existed for their entertainment. The room is silent. Not uncomfortable silence, but the kind that comes from witnessing testimony. I could have let that moment define me, could have hidden, disappeared, let shame swallow my voice. She pauses, and even from here, I see the steel in her spine. But I learned something important. They poured wine on me to make me small, but I learned how to stand taller. Applause, genuine and building. This foundation exists because one person's dignity crisis should never be isolated, because what happened to me happens thousands of times daily. In restaurants, hotels, offices, homes where domestic workers labor invisibly. The Vitale Foundation provides legal support, advocacy, and resources to ensure everyone can work with dignity. Her eyes scan the crowd, landing briefly on me before moving on. Power can destroy, but love, real love, teaches you how to rebuild. I see them in the crowd. Richard Harrington, older and humbler, sitting with his son Blake, who completed court-mandated community service. Maria, now the foundation's operations director. Kayla's mother, holding baby Lucia, who's mercifully sleeping through history. And scattered throughout, the people I destroyed to protect Kayla. Business rivals released from prison after my testimony led to their convictions being overturned. It turned out much of their prosecution relied on evidence I'd manipulated. Politicians I'd exposed now working as consultants for transparency initiatives. Even representatives from Volkov's dismantled organization. Reintegrated and rebuilding legitimately. My empire didn't just fall. It transformed into something unrecognizable. Something better. The speech ends to standing ovation. Kayla gracefully accepts congratulations, directs attention to her team, embodies leadership without ego. She's not hiding behind anyone's shadow anymore. She's casting her own light, and it's brilliant. I should leave. My presence here violates parole conditions that restrict contact with former associates, but I needed to see this, needed to witness what she built from the ruins I left her. She finds me anyway, catches my eyes across the ballroom, and for a heartbeat, everyone else disappears. Just us, connected across impossible distance. She excuses herself from the crowd, makes her way toward me with purposeful grace. You shouldn't be here, she says quietly when she reaches me. I know. Your parole officer is currently being distracted by Marco with an unexpected documentation issue. I allow myself a small smile. I have 20 minutes before anyone notices. 20 minutes. She looks at me, really looks. Cataloging changes 16 months in minimum security created. You look different. Prison doesn't have personal tailors. I've lost weight, gained scars from fights with inmates who knew my reputation. But I'm alive. You're thriving. That's what matters. Lucia asks about you, or will, when she's old enough to form questions. Her voice holds complex emotions I can't entirely parse. I show her pictures, tell her stories about her father. What kind of stories? The true ones. That you made terrible choices and tried to make them right. That loving me cost you everything, but you paid anyway. That you're serving time so she can grow up safe. I swallow hard. Can I meet her? After tonight? After parole is finished? If you want. If you're ready to be a father instead of a legend. I'm ready to be whatever you need me to be. She studies me, searching for truth. I don't need you to be anything, Aurelio. That's the point. I built this without you. Built myself without you. I'm not the woman who needed a mafia husband to feel powerful. I know, I see that. But, she continues, softer now, I wouldn't mind having a partner. Someone who sees me as an equal, who doesn't protect me from the world but stands beside me in it. I'd like that, if you'll let me earn it. Behind us, someone coughs. Kayla's assistant, giving us a warning. You should go, she says. Before this becomes a headline. One more thing. I reach into my pocket, pull out a small envelope. For Lucia, when she's old enough. It's a letter explaining everything. Who I was, what I did, why I made the choices I made. So, she hears it from me first. Kayla takes the envelope with hands that tremble slightly. And if she hates you for it? Then I'll have earned her hate honestly. That's more than I gave most people. We stand there, two people who survived impossible things, separated by 16 months and entire lifetimes of change. The ballroom noise filters in. Laughter, conversation, the sound of healing happening in spaces trauma once occupied. I should get back, she says finally. I know. I let myself touch her hand, just once. Brief connection, infinite meaning. Thank you, for turning our pain into purpose, for being exactly who you were always meant to be. She squeezes my hand. Let's go. Come see us when you're ready. Really ready, not just free from parole. Ready to be ordinary. With you? I echo our old conversation. Never. Her smile is small and genuine. Good answer. I leave through the kitchen exit, the same path I took 16 months ago when my world was collapsing. But everything looks different now. The city is still Manhattan, still glittering and restless. But I'm not the same man who tried to own it. I'm just Aurelio Vitali, ex-convict, former crime lord, father to a daughter I've never held. And for the first time in my life, that's enough. Parole ends on a Tuesday. Unremarkable weather, ordinary traffic. Thomas Miller officially dies, and Aurelio Vitali resurfaces. Legal, documented, attempting normal. I meet my daughter on Wednesday. Kayla brings her to the Brooklyn brownstone I've been slowly reclaiming. Lucia is 16 months old, all dark curls and solemn eyes that study me like she's cataloging threats. She looks like her mother. Thank God for small mercies. This is your father, Kayla tells her, voice gentle. He's been away, but he's here now. Lucia regards me skeptically. I don't blame her. Hello, I say, kneeling to her level. I'm told I missed your first words and first steps. I'm sorry for that. She reaches out, touches my face with toddler curiosity. Her hand is impossibly small against my scarred jaw. Then she smiles, uncertain but real. And something inside me breaks open. Papa? She tries, testing the word. I glance at Kayla, questioning. I taught her, Kayla confirms. She should know her father's language. I lift Lucia carefully, hold her against my chest, and feel my daughter's heartbeat synchronize with mine. Yes, Piccola. Papa. We're a family. Fragmented, complicated, built from ruins, but real. That night, after Lucia sleeps and Kayla reviews foundation paperwork, we sit together in the kind of comfortable silence that comes from having survived everything that should have destroyed us. What happens now? She asks. We rebuild. Slowly, carefully, honestly. I take her hand. I'm consulting for a financial crimes unit, helping them understand criminal networks from the inside. Legitimate work using illegitimate knowledge. They trust you? They trust my expertise. That's different. I turn to face her fully. But I'm trying, Kayla. Trying to be the man you and Lucia deserve. Trying to make every day less about redemption and more about just being good. That's all I ask. My phone buzzes. Unknown number. Against better judgment, I answer. Silence. Then breathing. Wrong number, I say, moving to end the call. Check your coat pocket. The one you wore to the gala. A distorted voice, mechanically altered. You were very touching, Vitali. Almost made me forget you destroyed my family's operation. The line goes dead. Kayla sees my expression change. What is it? I cross to the closet, find the coat I wore that night. In the inside pocket, something I didn't put there. An envelope. Black, expensive. No markings. Inside, a photo of Kayla leaving the foundation office. Professional quality. Recent date stamp. And drawn over her face in red ink. Crosshairs. Precise, deliberate, unmistakable. Below the photo, 3 words. Unfinished business remains. The room goes cold. 16 months of peace, of rebuilding, of trying to be ordinary, all of it evaporating under the weight of old ghosts. Kayla takes the photo from my numb hands, studies it with the composure she's learned through surviving me. So, it's not over. It's never over. Not really. I sink onto the couch, decades of exhaustion catching up. Someone from Volkov's network, someone I couldn't expose because they were buried too deep. They've waited until I felt safe, until we built something worth protecting. Then what do? I look at her, this woman who turned humiliation into purpose, who raised our daughter while I sat in prison, who built an empire of dignity from ruins I left her. She's not afraid. Hasn't been afraid since the night wine dripped down her face and she chose to stand rather than hide. We do what we've always done, she says before I can answer. We face it together. Kayla, this is different. These aren't entitled rich boys or corrupt politicians. These are people who understand violence, who have nothing to lose. Good, neither do we. She sets the photo aside with deliberate care. I've spent 16 months learning how to fight back legally, building networks, making allies, understanding how power really works. I'm not the waitress who needed saving anymore, Aurelio. I'm someone who knows how to fight her own battles. I don't want you fighting at all. I want you safe. Then let's make sure they regret waking the devil again. The words hang between us. Not bravado, not recklessness. Just clear-eyed understanding that peace always has a price, and some debts never fully settle. I pull her close, breathe in the scent of her hair, and feel something old stirring. Not the monster I tried to leave behind, but something more refined, more focused. If we do this, if we respond to this threat, we do it smart. Legal where possible, lethal only when necessary. We don't become what they need us to be. Agreed. But Aurelio? She pulls back to meet my eyes. Don't underestimate what I've become in your absence. I learned from the best criminal mind in New York. And I've had 16 months to apply those lessons to legal warfare. Despite everything, I smile. You're terrifying. Have I mentioned that? Not nearly enough. Upstairs, Lucia cries. Nightmare or hunger. The normal demands of toddlerhood. Kayla rises to go to her, but pauses at the doorway. They wanted to make me small, she says quietly. Poured wine on my head, drew crosshairs on my photo. But what they really did was crown a queen and awaken the man who owns the city. She disappears up the stairs, leaving me alone with a threatening photo and the realization that my wife just declared war more elegantly than I ever could. I pick up my phone. One call to Marco, one to my attorney, one to a federal contact who owes me more than they'll admit. Then I look at that photo one more time, at the crosshairs over Kayla's face, at the threat meant to terrify. All I feel is purpose. They thought their war with me ended when I went to prison. They were wrong. It's just beginning. And this time, I'm not fighting alone.